The Ku Klux Klan is the most notorious white supremacist group in the world. But how did it grow to such large numbers over the last 150 years? How has the Klan continued to be a malicious force in American society? And what has been its impact?
Nowhere else in American history is such terror so widespread without organization.
It was war between North and South.
The Klan is the oldest terrorist group in the United States, and in a sense, really the original one.
The initial Klan was set up very privately, the most secret of secret organizations.
The Ku Klux Klan is a peculiarly American phenomenon, but hate and white nationalism is an international one.
How big is the KKK today? And is it still recruiting members?
The Ku Klux Klan was born here and thrives here. I didn't say thrived, I said thrives here.
The advantage of having a secret society is that nobody knows what your numbers are, nobody knows where you are.
I think the Ku Klux Klan will be with us as long as we have people with hate in their hearts. And I think the real threat from the white supremacist movement probably takes a different form today.
And is America heading for a new race war?
You cut off its head, you think it's dead, and eventually it grows another head.
These are folks who have kept away from the cities, who want their countryside preserved. They endlessly see an invader, and they endlessly see that any change, whether it is with a flag, or a law, or a custom, will endanger them.
We have always had political extremism of one stripe or another, but never in such a kind of criminal form as we see it in the Klan.
The Civil War has never ended. It's still the fight that America fights for its own identity. Southerners are still Southerners, they've been hundreds of years. Northerners are still Northerners. What saves us are all the new people who come and keep between us.
We go inside the KKK today to reveal the truth about the most infamous white power group in the world. In the aftermath of the American Civil War, many ex-Confederate soldiers paraded the streets in white sheets and hoods in an attempt to attract young men to join their new social group, the Ku Klux Klan. They saw the abolishment of slavery as a threat to their country and God-given rights. As a result, Klan membership quickly grew to millions across the whole southern United States. The secrecy was tantamount as their crimes escalated, often committed by senior society figures.
Well, the Klan initially arose in pretty much a direct response to what happened at the end of the Civil War, the freeing of the slaves and ultimately the making of citizens of the slaves. It began in a small town in Pulaski, Tennessee, near the Alabama border. And really, what it was initially was a kind of prankster society. There were 6 ex-Confederate officers who got together, who were bored in this small town, and decided to form a little club. They used the Greek name for circle, Kuklos, and that is where the name Ku Klux Klan comes from. They dressed up in all kinds of wild outfits. This pretty quickly turned into more or less harassing black residents in the area, making fun of them. They would do certain kinds of things like dress up in such a way that was supposed to suggest that they were the ghosts of Confederate officers from the Civil War.
The story that 6 young men met to form a kind of social club with a kind of mystical circle in it is probably has a kernel of truth. But I have always believed that the Klan started in places like Pulaski, Tennessee, because it was in the edge of what was a cotton-growing area. Almost everywhere you find the Klan in 1866 and 1867, it is young men trying to resurrect their lives in places where cotton had once been king, and they wanted to restore that.
The initial Klan was set up very privately, the most secret of secret organizations. No one really knew for certain who was in the Klan. but the only name connected with it was the ex-Confederate General Nathan Bedford Forrest.
It developed into a movement, essentially, of small, like-minded groups that popped up in various places around the South. It wasn't until about 2 years later, 1867, where a meeting was held in Nashville where Nathan Bedford Forrest, a former Confederate general and slave master, was made the Grand Wizard, which was the title for the leader of the Ku Klux Klan for the very first time. Forrest really led the Klan through its very most violent period and, in effect, terrorized, in particular the Republican Party, into staying away from the polls, into backing away from any kind of political work, and so on.
The first Civil Rights Act with any teeth was passed in 1871, along with something called the Enforcement Acts, and they were passed because of the violence being perpetrated by the Klan. They were passed by President Grant, who had had enough. And he also declared the Klan a terrorist organization, which meant that if you were discovered to be a Klansman, you could be hanged. And so the membership was very secret, and we really don't know how many. Historians play games, make estimates, maybe 15% of the white males, but we don't know.
In fact, at the beginning of the 20th century, it's estimated that the first incarnation of the Ku Klux Klan membership had grown to an incredible 5 million people, some 25% of the South.
We know very little about the ritual of the Klan. Again, these men, they lived underground like moles. We do know about the dress. They were always masked. Very often, they would wear cloaks. Generally, it was putting a potato sack or something over your head, putting something around you to hide who you were, getting on your horse and riding out.
Even in the early days of the Klan, its members wore masks to hide their identity, but at the same time, giving the group a distinctly menacing appearance.
These gentlemen of the South definitely did not want anyone to know their identity, and that was the chief point in being masked. The mask is the only thing that would remain with the Klan through all of its days, is that they had to cover their faces because they were too cowardly to come out and say who they were. They didn't want anyone to know who they were. I've seen pictures of Klan riders. You do see the occasional conical-looking cap, but the conical cap as we know it, it's been connected to a dozen things, including, ironically enough, the Judenhut, the Jewish hat that the Germans often made the Jews wear in earlier centuries. But it's believed that the later Klan connected it with the Spanish Inquisition.
Today, the mask and conical hoods have become the most powerful symbols of white supremacy and the Klan that exist.
To me, the Klan has always been a very logical manifestation of rural life, that you band together for survival, that you go through certain rituals that give you power, in a place that often makes you feel powerless. By banding together, that power can manifest itself far more effectively than through individual protest or, shall we say, individual acting out. The Klan has an ethic of the group dynamic that I think reappears each time the Klan reappears.
A Klansman or Klanswoman, they come from all walks of life. So they have different perspectives. But one thing they all hold at the top of their priority list is preservation of the white race.
Behold the fiery cross, still brilliant. It shall burn bright as morning for all decades.
I mean, look, despite the fact that the Klan today is incredibly weak, the reality is that individual Klansmen still pose a very real and significant danger, at least to people immediately around them.
Let me say that the cross is an inspiration, a sign of the Christian religion, a symbol of faith, hope, and love. Amen. Amen.
The Ku Klux Klan is the most notorious white supremacist group in America. But how did this group grow to such large numbers over the last century? What impact has it had on politics? And what influence does it still have today? In 2015, there are estimated to be about 5,000 Ku Klux Klan members in the U.S., nearly all in the southern states. They regularly get together for rallies, barbecues, and even cross burnings. Members include teachers, accountants, hospital staff, and even local politicians. A lot of Klan members are also in the military and carry concealed weapons. They allowed our cameras to film a gathering in Roxborough, North Carolina.
This is a social gathering that we're having. It's part of the Klan, the Ku Klux and the Little White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. And our goal here today is to have a meeting to gather our white race together and wake up white America and let them know what's going on in the world. Our race, our history, our culture, our heritage comes from thousands of years of history, and we don't want to lose it. And it's being destroyed by Zog. Zog is the Zionist-occupied government. The Jews own everything. And through all the retail stores and advertising flyers that you receive in the mail, all they show is this racial mixing, and we're tired of it.
Well, this is the national rally, and brothers from all over the states are coming in, and it's a good place where we're all together and can do this.
We're part of this organization to help save our history, because we are losing our history.
I want my son to grow up knowing what's right. I mean, black and white dating just ain't, I don't agree with it. My son needs to learn and know how I feel. We try to, that's what we're here for, fighting for, every day. That's what I joined for, and that's what I want my son to say.
It's all about the white kids. That's what we're here for the future generations, to teach them. If nobody teaches them, they won't know the truth.
The Klan has always brought the family along, because if what they're trying to perpetuate is family and what they perceive to be the pure family values, it's very much like farm life always was. The kids learned the chores from early on. They increased their ability to do the chores as they matured, and when the adults aged out, they took their place.
The Klan today is really a shadow of its former self. The Klan is the oldest American terrorist group and probably will be the longest lived. But many people in the white supremacist movement today would rather identify with something that maybe had a more modern air to it. A different kind of white nationalist group like the National Socialist Movement. So although the Klan is kind of falling on hard times, there are probably 70 chapters, 23 or so different organizations all fighting amongst themselves, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 Klansmen. The white supremacist movement is actually quite large. For example, there are at least 300,000 registered users on something called Stormfront, which is the leading neo-Nazi portal. And most of those people are, of course, people in this country. And so, the number of people involved in the white supremacist movement is large. They don't typically identify with the Klan. And in many ways, there's a kind of a floating away from organized groups because the internet is so powerful. I don't have to go to a Klan rally. I don't have to go to a cross burning to get my fill of hate. I don't need to go into a meeting to get my racist views validated any longer. I can get them validated, just sitting in my pajamas at my house. Dylan Roof was someone like that, the Charleston shooter. He's kind of radicalized online. No evidence that I ever went to a meeting of any sort. But he clearly had, drunk the Kool-Aid of white supremacy.
2 members of the Ku Klux Klan were arrested today in connection with the death of a young black man who was beaten and hanged from a tree in Mobile, Alabama. The FBI says Michael Donnell was killed in a random act of Klan revenge for the murder of a white policeman.
On March 21st, 1981, a 19-year-old African-American man, Michael Donald, was stopped by Klansmen in Mobile, Alabama. He was then viciously beaten, hung from a tree, and then dragged down the road behind a vehicle on a rope. It remains one of the most brutal, racist attacks in American history. The local police chief today is Lawrence Batiste.
We are headed to an area of town where Michael Donald was hanged by a number of individuals in his community, which claimed association or ties with the Klan. The death of Michael Donald created a feeling of fear and apprehension. Didn't really know where you could and you could not go as a result of Michael Donald's death.
We first became involved in the Michael Donald case by really reading about in the newspaper. There was this talk that it was a drug deal gone bad. We were suspicious of that always. The FBI and the Justice Department broke the case. We saw the two people who were convicted. One person had pled guilty, another person was convicted at a trial, and the rest of us thought, it wasn't just these two fellows. There must have been something more behind it. The Klan had a long, long history of violence, and we began to investigate the case quite extensively.
We're currently on Michael Donald Avenue. This sign here is a landmark for Michael Donald. It says on March 21st, 1981, 19-year-old Michael Donald was abducted, beaten, killed, and hung from a tree by members of the Ku Klux Klan. To have a black man hanging from a tree sent a message that racism still exists. It may exist in secrecy, but it still exists, and that there are people in this community that have a stake in saying, we don't want you guys here. And so it did send a loud message, sent the message that you need to be careful about where you go, when you go, and who you go with.
Stop the Klan now! Stop the Klan now!
In the end, the accused, Klan member Henry Hayes, was tried and sentenced to death for the lynching and murder of Michael Donald.
A dramatic decision today in a courtroom in Mobile, Alabama. A judge has sentenced a member of the Ku Klux Klan to death for the murder of a young black man.
What happened to Michael Donald was a terrible thing. These men who lynched him, one of them's been sentenced to death, one of them's in jail for the rest of his life, and that's where they should be. But you can't hold the organization responsible. That's why we proved that the Klan had a policy or a custom and practice of carrying out its goals through violence. We had a very graphic thing from the Klan's newspaper. The Klan's newspaper was called the Fiery Cross, right? The idea was we're purifying Christianity, and this is what black people deserve. You turn the page and there's a black man lynched. And that was a message, that violence was okay, that black people deserved to be lynched.
The lynching and death of Michael Donald at the hands of the Ku Klux Klan shows all too dramatically just how brutal they were in the 20th century. And this tragic incident proves what many still fear, that the Klan still has an extreme element who are willing to torture, maim, and kill to get their dangerous ideology across. The Ku Klux Klan are a white supremacist organization with its roots in the deep South of America. At its peak towards the end of the 19th century, it could boast millions of members. But today those numbers have shrunk to a few thousand hardcore followers, who are all the more radical and dangerous. The US government and the FBI are well aware of the KKK's brutality. They spent a great deal of time and money trying to infiltrate the Klan, to get firsthand and eyewitness accounts of exactly what's been going on. Michael Frieson's father was an undercover FBI agent working for J. Edgar Hoover inside the Klan in the 1960s.
My dad got out of Army Air Corps in World War II and went directly into the FBI and was an FBI agent from, say, 1948 till about 70. He came to Greensboro because Greensboro was one of the centers of the racial unrest in the 60s. He was assigned to work on the Klan and develop informants in the Klan through a program that Hoover called COINTELPRO White Hate, which was basically an investigation of all the white hate groups in the United States. He was fortunate to get a lot of people at the top of the North Carolina Klan, the United Klans of America in North Carolina. His primary informant was George Dorset. George Dorset was a house painter and a preacher. He had a very powerful fire and brimstone speaking style.
The devil as a roaring lion.
And that meshed well in the Klan because he was one of the primary speakers at the rallies. So he became sort of the fiery voice of the Klan in North Carolina.
The peanut-brain, God-denying, atheist, agnostic infidels.
My dad, he told me many times that he approached Dorset 4 or 5 times before he was willing to actually cooperate with him, give him information. I think there was a reluctance initially to work with the FBI, but I think the money was good.
Frierson was one of the FBI's best agents, gaining valuable information about the KKK from informants for many years, including details of members, rallies, and potential targets. His work was recognized by J. Edgar Hoover, the Bureau's chief.
Over the years, Mr. Hoover sent my dad many letters of commendation. Many of them were for work he had done in the racial field. He was one of the top FBI agents recruiting Klan informants in North Carolina. He says, "I'm pleased to commend you and advise you that I've approved an incentive award for recognition of outstanding services in a matter of considerable interest to the Bureau in the racial field. Your skillful and effective efforts in developing and handling confidential sources resulted in a great deal of success in this area of our operations." And this is counterintelligence, right? It goes beyond information gathering. They're basically trying to break the Klan up, sow dissent and cause splinter groups to be formed and that kind of thing. So.
With expanded jurisdiction in the fields of organized crime and civil rights, the FBI scored decisive blows against Ku Klux Klan violence.
When details of George Dorset spying for the FBI emerged in 1965, it caused a huge upset within the Klan. He was forced into police protection for his own safety and banned from attending Klan meetings.
As is well known now, George Dorset was also the informer. He was, in a sense, the snitch, even at the time he was rallying the troops. Frankly, I don't think anyone's ever come to grips with that, even he, before his guilt or whatever it was he ended up with. He essentially was doing something, I think, that he truly believed in, and at the same time selling it out. So you could argue that George Dorset was the true realist. He knew that the days of the Klan were measured, they were numbered, they would end, but he wanted to get the truth in as long as he could.
There's little doubt that the FBI did have some success with their infiltration of the Klan, but in turn, it also led to a deeper radicalization of splinter groups who have gone further underground.
Despite the jokes making their way around the South that half the people in any Klan meeting were FBI informants, that wasn't true. The Klan was being reborn. It was being reborn quickly. There were lynchings by the score, there were beatings, there were people being threatened. It was very much a replay of something that I think most Northerners and intellectuals thought was long dead. It was a replay of the old Klan.
Secrecy has always been an important element in the Klan. Susan Sutton from the Indiana Historical Society has found a small figurine which used to be placed outside meetings to indicate whether it was a fully Klan event or whether non-Klan members were present.
What we have here is a statuette that would have been in use by the individual Klaverns. The statuette would stand at the point of entry for members. And the story is that if both arms were in place, including this one, which is removable, then the people present were all members, and it was safe to speak about anything. If the arm was not in place, like this, then there were people present who were not members, and so any kind of secret business was not to be discussed. He says on the bottom, K-I-G-Y, which means Klansman, I greet you. And of course, he's only greeting them if his arm is in place.
The advantage of having a secret society is that nobody knows what your numbers are, nobody knows where you are. And as far as the way the Klan viewed itself in terms of their secrecy, they had no shame about being secret. They knew that being so secret inflated their numbers in people's mind.
The so-called mystery and sexiness of the Klan is such that we actually have tiny little Klan groups popping up in places like Australia and Germany and so on. There's a kind of weird romance associated with it.
Although their numbers are rapidly diminishing, the Klan still has a passionate following in the South. A recent gathering in Roxborough, North Carolina, allowed our cameras in as they prepared a large cross for the evening's burning. Some members claim that a new war is coming, where the white majority will, as they put it, take America back.
The lighting of this cross represents Jesus Christ is the light of the world. He is our existence. He is the reason that we are on this earth. And so we light this cross in honor of what he has given to us. We're not the first to do this. You know, this has been done for hundreds and hundreds of years.
This is our Confederate battle flag. What it represents is our Confederate soldiers in the South. And in 1958, the Confederacy, or the Confederate veterans, soldiers, were brought in as U.S. veterans, and their gravestones are being desecrated, the flags are being torn off them, and nobody's doing anything about it. They're destroying us. They're trying to kill us. They're wiping us off the face of this planet, and we want to wake up America and put a stop to it.
And now then they're trying to take the Klan out of history, out of our history, out of our Southern heritage. And y'all got that looking good. Then once they get rid of our Southern heritage, they will not be satisfied until they destroy the heritage of this United States.
The cross lighting represents the light of Jesus and how he shines down over all of us. It is important because our biggest thing is our Christian base. Our kids definitely need to know about their heritage and where they came from. They need to be proud in their race and know that it's okay to be white now.
Despite the Klan's high media profile today, the initiation ceremony and sacred oaths undertaken by those joining the Klan remain a closely guarded secret.
When you are inducted or initiated into the Ku Klux Klan, you go through a secret ritual, a secret initiation ceremony in which you give an oath and you give a pledge to preserve the white race, to preserve white womanhood. You give your life. You also make a promise never to reveal any Klan business to aliens. An alien is anyone who is a non-Klan member, and to always uphold the values and policies of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan.
Young white people, they see the movement for Black Lives Matter, and they say, gosh, we're losing the country. What about us? You know, and so they try to figure out a way to kind of express what in their mind is ethnic pride in kind of a warped way. We've seen plenty of cases of young people in the North with Confederate flags. Well, what can that mean? That's not the historic Confederacy. It's just an expression of whiteness in their minds because they feel embattled.
There are no real boundaries in this. It's just part of a social movement that takes your money, organizes your energies, and engages your families. You get everything in one package. You get the costumes, you get the ideology, you get the family concerns. It has elements of the church, it builds community, and most of all, it keeps out the alien. It promises you that your children will have a future that you control, not them.
The Ku Klux Klan are the most famous white supremacist organization in the United States. Its origins start back at the end of the 19th century, when it attracted a huge following in the southern states, and is still active today, though with just a fraction of the membership. After what was known as the first wave of the Ku Klux Klan back in the end of the 19th century, a second wave flourished in the early 20th century. On the most part, it attracted all sorts of regular law-abiding citizens who helped with good social causes. But of course, there was also the constant undercurrent of racially motivated hatred.
The Ku Klux Klan returns to the South, complete with traditional white hoods.
One of its leaders was a politician called D.C. Stephenson, who was appointed state leader, or Grand Dragon of the Klan in Indiana. In 1925, he was tried and convicted in a notorious abduction, rape, and murder of a young white woman, Madge Oberholzer, a state education official. His trial, conviction, and imprisonment ended America's belief of Klan leaders as law-abiding citizens. It was a huge scandal at the time.
This is Irvington, and this is where D.C. Stephenson decided to build his mansion, over here. As you can see, it definitely has a southern flavor for a northern state. When D.C. Stephenson built this house after the 1922 and the 1925 elections, when virtually all these politicians were in his pocket, his favorite expression was, "I am the law in Indiana." And oddly enough, at parties in this house, his second favorite expression about politics was that you're safe in politics. Only one thing can ruin you, to be found in bed with a live man or a dead woman. Well, in Stephenson's case, it was a dead woman.
He imprisoned Oberholzer in a small room above his garage, where it said he repeatedly tortured and raped her.
He finally realized that she wasn't going to die. He did something that is so expressive of the nutty megalomania of the man, it's unbelievable. He had one of his bodyguards carry her back to her house, walked her up the stairs, dumped her on the bed, walked out.
Get in there.
Not a word. When the boarder said, "Who are you?" he kept his face down. He said, "My name is Taylor. She's been in an auto accident, but it was a mild one. She'll be fine," and walked out the door. Then, when the boarder, who was in the kitchen at the time, the rest of the family was gone, again, looking for Madge, she climbed the stairs and found Madge on the bed. The entire front of the dress she had worn to dinner 3 days before was open. Her breasts covered, black and blue, and oozing blood. She could barely speak. All she could say was to ask for her mother. The woman asked, "What happened to you?" And she said, "D.C. Stephenson did this to me. He raped me. He beat me. He bit me."
Stephenson! Most historians truly believe that the murder committed in Indiana was the turning point for the Klan. Klansmen at the grassroots quickly began to learn that this was not what they thought they had joined, and very quickly, we'll call them more respectable members in each community, began to distance themselves.
I mean, the case of D.C. Stephenson was a remarkable one because, of course, the Klan had spent most of its history railing on and on about protecting the virtue of white women and chastity and all those good things. So here is essentially the most important Klan leader in the country, who is found guilty of the incredibly savage rape leading to death of a white woman. The rape was so savage, he bit her all over her body. She was torn to pieces, that the woman died several days later, but not before giving a deathbed statement. Ultimately helped to lead to the destruction of the Klan around the country.
What happened in that garage back there was the death of the Klan all over the United States. You have to remember that Stephenson chose the venue for the trial. It was in Noblesville, a heavily Klan area at that time. And 12 white men on that jury listened to her deathbed statement, and they wanted to hang him. The best they could do was second-degree murder, and they gave him second-degree murder and they recommended life. When the mask was stripped away and you saw what these people really were, how ugly they were behind that mask, that's, I think, what makes this spot and this moment in history so important.
Despite the outrage over Stephenson's actions, the Klan continued strongly in the southern states. Its iconic white gowns and hoods, and its cross-lightings and ceremonies attracting an ever-loyal following. Daryl Davis is an author who's written about the Ku Klux Klan. He also has a collection of KKK robes.
This is the robe of an imperial wizard. This is called a mayoke, a blood drop emblem. The red circle, the white cross, and the red blood drop here. And if you look at these black lines here, they form Ks. There are 4 of them, and they stand for Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. The white cross, of course, represents Christianity, and the blood drop means that they will shed their blood to preserve the purity of the white race.
I think, the Klan has the best, uniforms out of all of the fraternal organizations out there. I've looked into masonry and all like that over the years, and I found it quite boring. And, with the Klan, it never gets old.
This, of course, is what we call the hood and the mask. Some people call it a helmet in Klan terminology. Well, the Klan traditionally has been a secret society. And while they remain in secrecy, with people not knowing who they are, that can invoke fear in other people. And fear is the most powerful tool to control your enemy. Some people have jobs, and should it be known to their employer that they are a member of a subversive organization, they could lose their job. So it's best that people not know who they are, thus they wear the mask.
Daryl Davis also has the uniform of a Baltimore police officer who was in the Klan.
He was not an undercover police officer in the Klan. He was a bona fide Klan leader on the police force. This is in recent times, just back to the 1970s. The Klan is still thriving, and it's thriving more and more every day with the advent of a black president being in office, with the advent of more and more people coming into this country, immigrants who do not have white skin color. The Klan sees that as a threat. So that's why we're seeing the rise in recruitment efforts. We're seeing the rise in lone wolf attacks, because their thinking is, hey, if the Klan can't do it and the neo-Nazis can't do it, and if you want to get it done right, do it yourself.
10,000 white women were raped by a black man. Guess how many black women were raped by a white man? None!
Because the Klan of the 60s was so much a terrorist organization, membership was extremely secret. There was certainly infiltration at certain points by law enforcement, but by and large, in the South, the Klan had very good connections to police departments. So there were police departments like Birmingham, Alabama, that were essentially allies of the Klan, and that was true all around the South. You found very often that police officers would be secretly members of the Klan. It was very much a secret society because, of course, it was engaged in terrorism of the most extreme kind.
The focal point of every Klan gathering for over 100 years has been the lighting of a huge cross. It's a symbol of their strong Christian faith, but it's said to also have a darker meaning.
The cross burnings were usually part of Klan rallies. The cross burnings announced an event. They weren't part of the ritual. The ritual was very much patterned after the ritual of all other organizations at that time, who all were patterned after the Freemasons. And they all followed suit. You rose through levels. You became a goblin. Officers were called things like Kleagles. Their book of ritual was called the Claran. Raising money was called a convocation, and the money was called click token.
The burning of a huge cross is still very much part of KKK ceremonies today. And despite the differences and rivalries between different Klan groups, it's one element they can all agree on.
You accept the light of Christ? Yes, sir.
Klan groups sometimes get together during the year for different occasions. These are rival groups, but they might have a barbecue, a pig roast, some kind of gathering, and they will have a cross lighting ceremony. called a cross lighting when it's done ceremoniously. When it's done as a threat or intimidation, it's called a cross burning. It's kind of a unity and brotherhood, but it's all fake.
Behold the fiery cross, still brilliant. All the troubled history, built to quench its hollow flame.
There's no foundation for it. It's all quicksand, because as soon as they leave, they're still rivals with one another. They don't join forces.
It shall burn bright as morning for all decades.
And then every now and then they'll form a federation of clan groups. But it's like having 3 chefs in the kitchen. You can't have 3 imperial wizards in the same clan group. You know, it's just too much ego, too much power, and they quickly disband.
God give us men. Amen.
Amen. The Ku Klux Klan are the most notorious white supremacist movement in the United States. Once able to boast a membership in the millions, today it has about 5,000 diehard members across the southern states. They meet regularly to don their infamous white robes and hoods, and to set fire to enormous crosses. But what does the future hold for the KKK?
The Klan really has been a generational phenomenon. If you think about it in the broadest context, the people who first met in Pulaski had children and grandchildren who would then join the Klan about a generation later. And those people had sons and grandsons who joined the Klan about a generation later. There have been 3 waves and 3, broadly speaking, generations that have attempted to keep the South in its traditional mode. That may be going away today, but there are remnants of it still around.
The Ku Klux Klan finds itself today at a crossroads. Its aims and its racist beliefs appear more out of touch than ever before. In July 2015, the Confederate flag was lowered for the last time outside the state capitol building in Columbia, South Carolina.
They pull the Confederate flag down, but then you got the new Black Panther Party with their monument that they have, and they can openly preach that they want all white people dead. The Ku Klux Klan is not hate. We love our race. We love and believe in the perpetuation and the preservation of the white race. That's what we want.
I'm not sure the Klan will ever die. And that's a sad thing to say. At this point, the membership of the Klan is pretty sad, 5,000 to 8,000 probable. That doesn't count all the organizations that have been spawned by the Klan. The Oklahoma City bombing was carried off by, 3 guys? And essentially 1 guy caused that kind of grief and death and destruction. So it doesn't take a lot of people to cause social chaos.
We have to face up to the ugly fact that the American South has taken a very long time to recognize the humanity of all black people. And that when the Klan manifests itself in any wave, the reservoir that is underneath white Southerners is often that brutalization of African Americans. The enduring impact of the Ku Klux Klan is that it delayed the true promise of being America, that it kept the American South from truly joining the rest of the nation in a manner and a fashion that would have given it true equality. And in that way, it harmed not just the region, but it harmed the rest of the nation as well.
I think there is just too much history wrapped around the Klan. The invisible empire, Knight Riders are sexy and appealing to certain kinds of people. So I think that probably for the foreseeable future, we will have little Klan groups around the United States and elsewhere.
Stop the Klan now! Stop the Klan now!
I've traveled over the world. I've never been to a country that didn't have a race problem. I don't think the Klan will ever die. I just think at this point it's a joke.
All these groups are morphing and diminishing. Are they necessarily going to disappear totally? No, I always believe in the 95%. But what we don't have anymore is the South the Klan really wanted to defend. It's going away.
The KKK has a colorful and violent history, but its actual membership is a small fraction of what it was a century or more ago. The current members rail against what they see as a marginalization of their way of life, and against the huge influx of migrants and a lack of resources for who they see as true white Americans. They threaten that a war is coming where white Americans will take their country back. But increasingly, in this fast-moving, technology-driven, and multicultural world, their old-fashioned and racist views seem woefully outdated and out of touch. And yet the FBI and other law enforcement do recognize the threat that one lone wolf member could still cause. Fueled by hateful ideology and radicalized on the internet, an individual could still perpetrate an act of extreme terror that would grab the entire world's attention and put the KKK back in the headlines.